There's a moment in every person's life when they realize they're standing at a crossroads. It's that instant when you look around and suddenly see with crystal clarity that the path you've been walking isn't leading you where you truly want to go. For some, it's a gentle awakening. For others, it's a jolt that shakes them to their very core. But for all of us, it's a pivotal moment of truth. I want you to think back to the last time you felt that way. The last time you looked at your life and thought, this isn't it. This isn't what I dreamed of. This isn't who I'm meant to be. Hold on to that feeling, because we're about to embark on a journey together. A journey that will challenge you, inspire you, and ultimately transform you. You see, success isn't some far-off destination that only a lucky few ever reach. It's not about having the right connections, or being born into the right family, or even having some innate talent that sets you apart from everyone else. No, success is something far simpler and yet far more profound. Success is the natural result of consistency. Now, I know that you're thinking, consistency? That's it. That's the big secret. And I can almost hear the disappointment in your voice, because we've been conditioned to believe that success should be flashy, exciting, a lightning bolt of inspiration, or a stroke of genius. But the truth is real. Lasting success is built in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. It's built in the daily habits, the small choices, the tiny victories that add up over time. Think about it for a moment. Every single one of us has goals, dreams, aspirations. We all have that vision of who we want to be, what we want to achieve. But how many of us actually take consistent action towards those dreams? How many of us show up day after day, even when we don't feel like it, even when it seems like we're not making progress, even when the world seems to be conspiring against us? That's the real challenge, isn't it? It's not about having the perfect plan or the most innovative idea. It's about having the grit, the determination, the sheer force of will to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. It's about forcing yourself to be consistent, even when, especially when it's the last thing you want to do. Let me share a story with you. There was once a young man who dreamed of becoming a great writer. He had a natural talent for words, a vivid imagination, and a burning desire to see his name on the bestseller list. But like so many aspiring writers, he struggled with consistency. He'd write furiously for a few days, pouring his heart and soul onto the page. But then life would get in the way. Work, family obligations, social events. There was always something pulling him away from his writing. Months would go by without him touching his manuscript. And every time he came back to it, he'd have to start almost from scratch, reacquainting himself with his characters, rediscovering the thread of his story. It was frustrating, demoralizing, and it made him question whether he was cut out to be a writer at all. But then something changed. He made a decision, a commitment to himself. He decided that no matter what, he would write for at least 1 hour every single day. Rain or shine, busy day or lazy Sunday, feeling inspired or completely blocked, it didn't matter. He would sit down and write. At first, it was incredibly difficult. There were days when he'd stare at the blank page for 55 minutes before finally eking out a few sentences in the last 5. There were days when he wrote absolute garbage, words that he knew he'd delete as soon as he reread them. But he kept going. Day after day, hour after hour, he showed up and did this. And you know what happened? Slowly but surely, things started to change. The words began to flow more easily. The story began to take shape. His characters deepened, his plot tightened, and his writing improved. Not in dramatic leaps and bounds, but in small, steady increments that added up over time. After a year of this daily practice, he had a completed first draft. After 2 years, he had a polished manuscript. And after 3 years of consistent, dedicated effort, he had a published novel in his hands. Now, was it an overnight success? Far from it. Did he become a household name with his very first book? No. But he had achieved something remarkable. He had turned his dream into reality. He had become a published author. And more importantly, he had proven to himself that he had what it takes to see a long-term project through to completion. This, my friends, is the power of consistency. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting, but it is transformative. It is the force that turns dreams into goals, goals into plans, and plans into reality. But here's the thing. Consistency isn't just about achieving external success. It's about something far more important. It's about becoming the person you're capable of being. It's about living up to your own potential, fulfilling the promise that lies within you. You see, every time you force yourself to be consistent, every time you show up and do the work, even when you don't feel like it, you're not just making progress towards your goals. You're building character. You're strengthening your willpower. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted, that your word to yourself means something. And that, my friends, is priceless. Because in a world full of distractions and temptations, in a society that often values instant gratification over long-term fulfillment, the ability to be consistent is a superpower. It's what separates those who merely dream from those who do. Now, I want you to take a moment and really think about this. What area of your life could be transformed by consistency? Is it your health, your relationships, your career, your personal growth? Whatever it is, I want you to hold that in your mind as we continue our journey together. Because here's the truth. Forcing yourself to be consistent isn't easy. If it were, everyone would do it. It requires discipline, sacrifice, and a level of self-awareness that many people never develop. But the rewards are beyond measure. Imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you were consistently working towards your most important goals. Imagine the sense of pride, of accomplishment, of self-respect you'd feel knowing that day in and day out, you're becoming the best version of yourself. That's the power that lies within you. That's the potential that's waiting to be unleashed. And all it takes is the decision to be consistent, the decision to show up day after day and do the work. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if I fail? What if I miss a day or a week or even longer? What if I'm not perfect in my consistency? And to that I say, welcome to being human. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's not about never falling down. It's about getting back up every single time you fall. It's about recommitting to your goals, to your dreams, to yourself, especially when you've fallen short. Think about it this way. If you're consistent 80 of the time, you're still miles ahead of where you'd be if you never tried at all. If you're right for an hour 5 days out of 7, you're still making more progress than if you waited for the perfect time to start. If you eat healthy meals most of the time, you're still doing better for your body than if you gave up entirely because you couldn't stick to a perfect diet. Consistency isn't about never failing. It's about failing forward. It's about learning from your missteps, adjusting your approach, and keeping your eyes fixed on the horizon even when the path gets rocky. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you practice consistency, the easier it becomes. It's like a muscle that grows stronger with use. At first, it might feel like you're fighting against yourself every step of the way. But over time, those consistent actions become habits. Those habits become routines. And those routines become the foundation of your success. But let's be real for a moment. Consistency isn't just about individual effort. It's also about creating an environment that supports your goals. It's about surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, who challenge you, who inspire you to keep pushing forward even when things get tough. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they consistent in pursuing their own goals? Do they support your efforts to grow and improve? Or do they drag you down, tempting you to slip back into old, unproductive habits? You see, consistency is contagious. When you surround yourself with people who are committed to their own growth, who show up day after day to work towards their dreams, it becomes easier for you to do the same. Their consistency reinforces your own. So as you embark on this journey of consistency, I want you to think carefully about your environment. Are there changes you need to make? Relationships you need to reevaluate? New connections you need to forge? Remember, you are the architect of your own life. You have the power to shape your environment, to create conditions that support your growth rather than hinder it. And that, my friends, is a crucial part of forcing yourself to be consistent. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked when we discuss consistency: the power of small wins. You see, when we set big goals for ourselves, it's easy to get overwhelmed. The gap between where we are and where we want to be can seem insurmountable. And that's where many people give up. But here's the secrets. Success is not about making huge leaps. It's about taking small steps consistently over time. It's about celebrating the tiny victories along the way. Because those small wins, those little moments of progress, are what fuel your motivation and keep you going when things get tough. Let me give you an example. Say your goal is to run a marathon. Now, if you've never run before, the idea of running 26.2 miles might seem impossible. But what if, instead of focusing on that end goal, you focused on running for just 5 minutes today, and then 10 minutes tomorrow, and then 15 the day after that? Each of those small runs is a win. Each one is progress. Each one is bringing you closer to your ultimate goal. And more importantly, each one is building your consistency muscle. Each one is proving to yourself that you can show up day after day and do the work. That's the power of small wins. They build momentum. They create a positive feedback loop that makes consistency easier and more rewarding. And before you know it, those small wins add up to big victories. So as you work on being consistent, I want you to pay attention to those small wins. Celebrate them. Acknowledge the progress you're making, no matter how small it might seem, because those small wins are the building blocks of your success. Now let's address another crucial aspect of consistency: dealing with setbacks. Because let's face it, no matter how committed you are, no matter how disciplined you try to be, there will be times when life throws you a curveball. There will be days when, despite your best intentions, you fall short of your goals. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like a failure. It's easy to think, what's the point? I might as well give up. But I want you to understand something very important. Setbacks are not failures. They're opportunities for growth. Think about it this way. Every time you face a setback and choose to keep going anyway, you're building resilience. You're strengthening your commitment. You're proving to yourself that you're stronger than any obstacle that comes your way. Remember our aspiring writer? Do you think he never missed a day of writing in those 3 years? Of course he did. There were days when work ran late, when family emergencies came up, when he was just too exhausted to string 2 words together. But the key to his success wasn't that he never faltered. It was that he never quit. When he missed a day, he didn't throw in the towel and declare himself a failure. He acknowledged the setback, reflected on what caused it, and then he got right back to work the next day. He understood that consistency isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. So I want you to make a promise to yourself right now. Promise that no matter what setbacks you face, no matter how many times you fall short of your own expectations, you will not give up. You will not use those setbacks as an excuse to quit. Instead, you will use them as fuel to push yourself even harder. Because here's the truth. It's not the setbacks that define you. It's how you respond to them. And when you choose to respond with renewed commitment, with unwavering consistency, that's when you truly start to transform your life. Now let's talk about something that's absolutely crucial to maintaining consistency: self-care. Because here's the thing, forcing yourself to be consistent doesn't mean running yourself into the ground. It doesn't mean pushing yourself to the point of burnout. In fact, that kind of relentless drive often leads to the exact opposite of consistency. It leads to crash and burn. True consistency, the kind that leads to lasting success, is sustainable, and sustainability requires balance. It requires taking care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit. Think about it like this. Your consistency is like a fire. Your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, they're the fuel that keeps that fire burning. But if you don't take care of the fire, if you don't give it the oxygen it needs to breathe, eventually it will burn out, no matter how much fuel you add. So what does this mean in practical terms? It means making sure you're getting enough sleep. It means nourishing your body with healthy food. It means taking time for relaxation and recreation. It means nurturing your relationships and feeding your soul. Because here's the paradox. Sometimes the most consistent thing you can do is take a break. Sometimes the best way to keep moving forward is to pause and recharge. Sometimes the key to long-term productivity is short-term rest. I want you to think about this carefully. Are you taking care of yourself as you pursue your goals? Are you giving yourself permission to rest, to recharge, to enjoy the journey? Or are you pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion, thinking that's what consistency requires? Remember, consistency isn't about being a machine. It's about being a healthy, balanced human being who shows up day after day to do the work that matters. And that requires self-care. So as you commit to being consistent, I want you to also commit to taking care of yourself. Make self-care a non-negotiable part of your routine. Treat it with the same level of importance as your work towards your goals, because in the long run, it's not just important, it's essential. Let's dive into another crucial aspect of consistency, the power of systems. You see, willpower is a finite resource. You can't rely on motivation alone to keep you consistent day in and day out. That's where systems come in. A system is simply a set of procedures, habits or routines that you put in place to make consistency easier. It's about creating an environment and a structure that supports your goals, rather than relying solely on your determination to push. Let me give you an example. Say your goal is to exercise regularly. You could try to rely on willpower alone, forcing yourself to go to gym every day through sheer determination. But what happens when you're tired or stressed or just not feeling it? That's when willpower often fails. But what if instead you created a system? What if you laid out your workout clothes the night before? What if you scheduled your workouts at the same time every day, making them a non-negotiable part of your routine? What if you found a workout buddy who holds you accountable? Suddenly, being consistent becomes much easier. You're not relying solely on willpower. You've created a system that supports your goal, that makes the desired behavior the path of least resistance. This principle applies to any area where you're striving for consistency. Want to write every day? Create a system where you sit down at your desk at the same time each morning with your writing tools already laid out. Want to eat healthier? Create a system of meal planning and prep that makes nutritious food readily available. The beauty of systems is that they take the decision-making out of consistency. You don't have to decide every day whether you're going to follow through on your commitments. The decision has already been made. The system is in place. All you have to do is follow it. So I want you to think about your goals, about the areas where you're striving for consistency. What systems can you put in place to support those goals? How can you structure your environment, your schedule, your routines to make consistency the default rather than the exception? Remember, the goal isn't to rely on heroic effort every single day. The goal is to make consistency so ingrained in your life that it becomes second nature. And that's what well-designed systems allow you to do. Just address something that often gets overlooked when we talk about consistency, the importance of flexibility. Because here's the truth, life is unpredictable. Circumstances change. And if your notion of consistency is so rigid that it can't adapt to those changes, it's likely to break under pressure. True consistency, the kind that leads to lasting success, isn't about doing the exact same thing in the exact same way every single day. It's about maintaining your commitment to your goals, even when the path to those goals needs to shift. Think about it like this. If you're on a road trip and you encounter a detour, you don't just give up and go home, do you? No, you find another route. You adapt. You stay committed to reaching your destination, even if the journey looks a little different than you expected. That's what flexibility and consistency looks like. It's about keeping your eyes on the prize, even when you need to. That's what flexibility and consistency looks like. It's about keeping your eyes on the prize, even when you need to adjust your approach. It's about being committed to your goals, not to a particular method of achieving them. Let me share another story with you. There was once a woman who dreamed of starting her own business. She had a clear vision of what she wanted to create, and she developed a detailed plan to make it happen. Every day, she worked tirelessly towards her goal, following her plan to the letter. But then something unexpected happened. The market shifted. The demand she had anticipated for her product suddenly wasn't there. And for a moment, she felt lost. All her careful planning, all her consistent effort, it seemed like it might have been for nothing. But here's where the story takes a turn. Instead of giving up, instead of declaring her dream a failure, she chose to be flexible. She looked at the changing market and asked herself, how can I adapt my vision to meet this new reality? How can I stay true to my ultimate goal while changing my approach? And that's exactly what she did. She pivoted her business model, she adjusted her product, she found new ways to reach her target audience. And through it all, she remained consistent in her commitment to her dream, even as the details of that dream evolved. That's the power of flexibility and consistency. It's what allows you to weather the storms of change, to navigate the unexpected twists and turns that life inevitably throws your way. It's what transforms consistency from a rigid, brittle thing into a powerful, adaptable force for success. So as you work on forcing yourself to be consistent, I want you to also cultivate flexibility. Be willing to adjust your methods, to try new approaches, to adapt to changing circumstances. Because true consistency isn't about stubbornly sticking to a plan no matter what. It's about staying committed to your goals, even when the path to those goals needs to change. Now let's talk about something that's absolutely crucial to maintaining long-term consistency, finding your ROI. You see, consistency requires effort. It requires sacrifice. And there will be days when the work feels hard, when the progress seems slow, when the doubts creep in. On those days, what's going to keep you going isn't willpower alone. It's your ROI. Why's your purpose? It's the deeper reason behind your goals. It's the thing that makes all the effort, all the sacrifice, all the consistency worth it. And here's the thing. The stronger the easier it becomes to force yourself to be consistent. Think about it. If you're trying to get in shape just because you think you should, or because someone else told you to, how likely are you to stick with it when things get tough? But what if you're getting in shape because you want to be able to play with your kids without getting winded, or because you want to be healthy enough to travel the world in your retirement? Suddenly the motivation becomes much more powerful. That's the power of a strong. Why? It turns consistency from something you have to force yourself to do into something you want to do. It transforms discipline into desire. So I want you to take a moment right now and really think about your wow. Why are your goals important to you? What's driving you to pursue them? What will achieving them allow you to do or be or experience? And here's the key. Your why needs to be deeply personal. It needs to resonate with you on an emotional level. It needs to be something that excites you, that moves you, that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning and get to work. Once you've identified your why, I want you to write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. Make it a mantra, a touchstone that you can return to whenever your motivation flags. Because here's the truth. When you have a powerful why, consistency becomes less about forcing yourself and more about aligning yourself. It becomes less about pushing against your own resistance and more about moving towards something you deeply desire. And that, my friends, is when consistency becomes truly transformative. That's when it stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a choice. A choice you make gladly, day after day, because you know it's leading you towards something that truly matters to you. Now, let's address something that often gets overlooked when we talk about consistency, the role of accountability. You see, we humans are social creatures. We're influenced by the people around us, by the commitments we make to others, by the expectations placed upon us. And when it comes to consistency, this social nature can be a powerful tool. Think about it. How much easier is it to show up for a workout when you know your friend is waiting for you at the gym? How much more likely are you to follow through on a project when you've promised your boss it'll be done by a certain date? That's the power of accountability. When you make your goals public, when you share your commitments with others, you create a sort of social contract. You're no longer just answering to yourself. You're answering to the people you've let in on your journey, and that can be an incredibly powerful motivator. But accountability isn't just about external pressure. It's also about support. When you share your goals with others, you're not just inviting them to hold you accountable. You're inviting them to cheer you on, to offer encouragement when things get tough, to celebrate your victories with you. So as you work on forcing yourself to be consistent, I want you to think about how you can build accountability into your efforts. Can you find an accountability partner? Someone who's working towards similar goals? Can you join a group or a community of like-minded individuals? Can you make your commitments public in some way? And here's an important point. Choose your accountability carefully. Surround yourself with people who will support your efforts, who will push you to be your best self, who will hold you to your commitments without judgment when you fall short. Because the right kind of accountability doesn't just help you stay consistent. It amplifies your efforts. It turns your individual journey into a shared adventure, and it reminds you that you're not alone in your pursuit of growth and success. Now, let's talk about something that's absolutely crucial to long-term consistency: learning to embrace discomfort. Because here's the truth: growth is uncomfortable, change is uncomfortable. And if you're truly committed to forcing yourself to be consistent, you're going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Think about it. Every time you push yourself to do something you don't feel like doing, every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, every time you stay committed to your goals, even when it's tough, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're embracing discomfort. But here's the beautiful thing. The more you do this, the more you realize that discomfort isn't something to be feared or avoided. It's a sign that you're growing, that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're becoming more than you were before. I want you to start thinking of discomfort as a friend, not an enemy. When you feel that resistance, that urge to give up or take the easy way out, I want you to recognize it for what it is: an opportunity for growth, a chance to prove to yourself that you're stronger than your momentary discomfort. Because here's the secret that all truly successful people know: the ability to embrace discomfort, to push through it consistently, is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who merely wished for them. So the next time you feel that discomfort, I want you to smile. I want you to say to yourself, this is what growth feels like. This is what consistency feels like. This is what becoming the best version of myself feels like. And then I want you to push through. I want you to do the thing you don't feel like doing. I want you to stay consistent, especially when it's hard, because that's where the real magic happens. That's where transformation occurs. Now, as we near the end of our journey together, I want to talk about something that's often overlooked in discussions about consistency and success: the importance of patience. You see, consistency is a long game. It's about small actions, repeated day after day, that add up to big results over time. But that over time part, that's where many people struggle. We live in a world of instant gratification. We're used to getting what we want when we want it. But real, lasting success doesn't work that way. It requires patience. It requires trust in the process. It requires the ability to keep going, day after day, even when you can't yet see the results of your efforts. Think back to our aspiring writer. Do you think he saw immediate results from his daily writing practice? Of course not. There were days, weeks, maybe even months when it felt like he was making no progress at all. But he kept going. He trusted that his consistent efforts would pay off in the long run. That's the kind of patience I'm talking about. The patience to keep planting seeds, even when you can't yet see the garden. The patience to keep laying bricks, even when the house is far from complete. The patience to keep showing up day after day, trusting that your consistency will eventually yield the results you're seeking. But here's the thing about patience. It's not passive. It's not about sitting back and waiting for success to find you. It's about actively continuing your efforts, maintaining your consistency, even when the rewards aren't immediately apparent. So how do you cultivate this kind of patience? How do you maintain your consistency when it feels like you're not making progress? First, focus on the process, not just the outcome. Take pride in your consistent efforts, regardless of the results. Celebrate the fact that you're showing up day after day and doing the work, because ultimately, that's what you have control over. Second, learn to find joy in the journey. Don't pin all your happiness on reaching your final goal. Find ways to enjoy the daily process of working towards your dreams, because if you can do that, you'll be able to maintain your consistency indefinitely. Third, keep track of your progress, no matter how small. Sometimes we fail to see how far we've come because we're so focused on how far we still have to go. Take time regularly to look back and acknowledge the progress you've made. You might be surprised at how much you've grown. And finally, remember that patience isn't about waiting for success to find you. It's about continuing to work consistently towards your goals, trusting that your efforts will compound over time. It's about understanding that real, lasting success is built day by day, brick by brick. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to leave you with one final thought. Forcing yourself to be consistent isn't easy. It requires discipline, sacrifice, and a level of commitment that many people aren't willing to make. But it is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful forces for transformation in your life. When you commit to consistency, when you show up day after day to do the work, you're not just moving towards your goals. You're reshaping your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who follows through, who keeps their promises to themselves, who turns their dreams into reality. And that, my friends, is the real power of consistency. It's not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. So I challenge you, right here, right now, to make a commitment to consistency. Choose one area of your life where you want to see change. It could be your health, your relationships, your career, your personal growth, whatever matters most to you right now. And commit to showing up for that goal every single day, no matter what. It won't be easy. There will be days when you don't feel like it. There will be times when progress seems slow. There will be moments when you want to give up. But I want you to remember this conversation. I want you to remember that consistency is the force that turns dreams into reality. I want you to remember that every time you force yourself to show up, every time you choose consistency over comfort, you're not just moving towards your goals. You're becoming the person you're meant to be. And know this, success will find you. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen in a week or a month or even a year. But if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up day after day to do the work, success is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, but when. So go forth with courage, with determination, and with an unwavering commitment to consistency. Force yourself to show up, even when it's hard. Trust in the process, even when you can't see the results. And remember, always remember, that your consistent efforts today are creating the success stories of tomorrow. You have within you everything you need to achieve your dreams. All it takes is the decision to be consistent, the willingness to embrace discomfort, and the patience to see it through. The rest will follow. So what will you choose? Will you continue on as you have been, letting your dreams remain just out of reach? Or will you make the commitment right now to force yourself to be consistent, to show up day after day for your goals, your dreams, your best self? The choice is yours. But know, if you choose consistency, if you commit to this path, you're not just choosing success. You're choosing transformation. You're choosing to become the best version of yourself. And that, my friends, is the greatest success of all. Remember, success isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create day by day through your consistent efforts. So go out there and create your success. Force yourself to be consistent. And watch as the world opens up before you, full of possibilities you never dreamed were possible. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And the journey to your dreams begins with a single day of consistency. So start today. Start now. Your future self will thank you for it. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Now go forth and be consistent. Your success is waiting for you.